So it was agreed upon that I was going to have something called a 360 fusion. So it's a two-part operation, and the first part is where the surgeon needs to go in and a vascular surgeon makes an incision just underneath your belly button. He moved all my bits toward the side. I'm not going to get all gruesome and give you the gory details, but the surgeon then comes in when my spine is fully exposed. At that stage, in my case, the surgeon then had to remove the disc between, or the remainder of the disc between L5 and S1, just to make sure that there was nothing pressing on any of the nerve roots or anything to that degree. He then used a titanium cage and he filled that with demineralized bone matrix and cancellous bone chips. He raised up my spine, so he increased the height between the L5 and the S1 bodies. He then placed that cage in, screwed the cage inside, and then moved my spine back so that I didn't have that forward slippage anymore. So now everything was positioned perfectly, so to speak. I woke up from that surgery, everything was good. I get discharged to go home, and a week later I go back in for the second part of the surgery, which is where the surgeon's got to go in from the back. And this time he makes two incisions, one on the left, one on the right, and that's where he places two screws on the left and two on the right and joins them with a metal rod. And that's what they call the posterior fixation. So the fusion, the actual fusion, is from the front. That's where the cage is inserted, and then from the back, that's just extra scaffolding, just to make sure that things are really solid. I go in for the second operation, and I wake up from that surgery. And I wake up to pain that I have never experienced ever in my entire life. We know in the clinical world that if someone says to you they've got an 8 out of 10 pain, that's A&E, that's straight away into the emergency room. So it's very, very rare that people experience a 10 out of 10 pain. I have to tell you this, I was way beyond a 10. I had honestly never experienced anything like this. Unfortunately, what had happened in my case is I fell into the 1 or the 2% of patients that have what they call a nerve stretch injury. So on the full reduction, as my surgeon pulled me all the way back, what happened is my L5 nerve roots, so we'll just use this little guy here, I'll use this nerve root here, got actually tractioned. So it got pulled and stretched. And it got pulled and stretched on both sides, not just the one side, but the left was way worse than the right. Now, it can happen. It's just part of surgery. But what my surgeon came in and told me, he said, Joel, he goes, you're not leaving this hospital until I make sure that structurally everything is absolutely perfect. Which meant that he needed to go in another 3 times over the next 5 days through the backside of my body to make sure that all the bone was taken away, shaved away, and nothing was compressing my nerve roots. So I landed up having 5 surgeries in just on 2 weeks, and my total hospital stay was for 3 weeks. So I went in on the 12th of June, on the 22nd of June, and I got discharged on the 12th of July. During those 3 weeks, those were some of the hardest moments of my life. Experiencing pain that I'd never experienced in my entire life, and going through the doubt of the surgical process. However, I knew that I had the absolute best surgeon that I could ever hope for, and I had a phenomenal community around me. Beside everyone in the hospital who were really helping me to try and sort of get through all of this, I had my close family, my friends, my clients, and I had especially a group of professionals who really were a great shoulder to lean on. Everyone from Stu McGill to Michael Shacklock and many other people who I was able to contact at some of the lowest points of their 3-week stay. Anyway, as Stu said to me, he said, Joel, he goes, your surgeon's done everything he can do. Everything is completely decompressed. He said, this is now just the tincture of time. He said, let nature do what nature needs to do. And those sentiments were echoed by Michael Shacklock as well. So, at that moment when I got discharged, I went home, and again, over the next month, it was a very, very difficult 4 weeks. Not being able to walk longer than maybe 5 or 6 minutes at a stretch. The pain was still quite aggressive down my leg, not to the same degree as I had when I was in hospital. And again, to go from being an extremely physically active person, being able to do pretty much whatever I want in the gym, to now finding the mundane task of walking, something that was extremely difficult to do on a daily basis, was quite a hard pill to swallow, especially for someone who's been in the gym virtually his whole life. But it allowed me somehow to just create more resilience psychologically, to know that there was definitely an end point at this and things were going to change. Good days, bad days, absolutely. A lot more bad days than good days. But I just had to persevere through. I had to give myself the absolute best chance I could to heal as much as I could. No fancy exercises, no fancy stretching. I got rid of absolutely everything. And all I did essentially was apply 2 things: spine hygiene to my daily movements and walking. No hill walks, no walking for over 40 minutes or anything to that degree. But every day I was just able to add an extra minute here or an extra 2 minutes there. And I finally got through those dark times. And literally 5 days ago, I went for my 3-month CT scan. And I was looking at the scans with my surgeon, and he showed me and he said to me, Joel, he said, in all my time doing these operations, he said, I've never seen anyone fuse as quickly as you. He said, you're about 80 to 85% completely fused between L5 and S1. And we know from all the fusion patients that I get to see, that a lot of people 12 months post-surgery aren't even 60 to 70% fused. What do I attribute all of that to? Well, there's many people that have contributed to that. The technical excellence of my surgeon, the advice of all my close professional friends, but 2 things: spine hygiene and walking. That's all I've done. And then obviously I've looked after my nutrition, from making sure that my vitamin D status was really good pre-op and post-op, and also to making sure that I was taking certain supplements, which I had bounced back and forth with a lot of nutrition experts to determine what the best package for me was. So right now, as I sit here, even though I had 5 surgeries in a very short space of time, it's probably more surgeries than a lot of people have in their entire lifetime. And I went through some phenomenally dark times during that recovery process. I sit here sharing my story and being extremely grateful to say that I am getting stronger each and every day. I'm back at work, which is absolutely inspiring. I'm incredibly grateful for that, because to now come and be able to share my story with my patients and my clients allows my patients to understand that I have an element of both empathy and sympathy for what they're going through. I always have had that, but now I truly understand what neural pain is, or beyond neural pain. And a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, add some humor to this. I've come to realize one thing. It's pretty hard to kill a South African. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed my journey, and I've got a lot more to speak about, and over the coming weeks and months, I'll put up some videos more specific to certain surgical procedures and low back rehab, and tell you how I'm getting on with getting back into the gym and starting to lift weights again and doing all my things, and how my mind has changed with regards to how I'm going to modify exercises, etc. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for all the people that have reached out to me and asked me how I've been doing. I've gotten phone calls and emails and direct messages on my social media platforms. And if I can do anything to share some more stories and insights to help people out there that are dealing with back pain or pre-surgery or post-surgical sort of jitters, feel free to reach out. So until next time, keep strong, have faith, and never ever lose sight of the absolute goal in mind. Make sure that health is a priority. See you all soon.